This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. Good morning, my man. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. Wasn't Constantine Popa a very good security guard, I was told?
He sure was. I don't know what else Constantine Popa did in terms of his basketball career after Miami. Did he play overseas somewhere?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think he did a little bit of overseas stuff, yes.
yeah, I mean, 7-foot
And then
guy got to be
somebody
able to get
told me
work.
he was a security guard. I don't
He,
know. Is that
he
true?
probably was. I'm not sure. That's a good story, though. That'd be an amazing sight, right? You're trying to break into a place, and you got a 7-foot. What is he? 7'4"? How
I
tall
think
was
he
he?
was 7'4". Yeah.
Yeah,
I
a
think
security guard staring at you. That'd be a little intimidating.
Constantine Popa. Wow. That was back in the Miami Arena days, bro.
Yeah, back
Okay.
back when you were just excited to be a part of the Big East, right? And just to be
Yes. Yeah, and but let me tell you something. We had a couple of those games where Leonard's teams were really good, and we had like, I don't know, 11, 12, 13,000
mhm.
at Miami Arena. There were a couple of those games. I remember there was I want to say a Boston College game. There
UConn,
was,
a lot of UConn games were well attended.
yeah, man. There were a couple that in those years right before he left to the Washington Bullets. Then, right? I think it was the Bullets. Then,
They
still.
might have switched to Wizards by then. I think he
Might
was
have been Wizards then already.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so the Wizards took him away, which that was Michael Jordan, right? Wasn't it Michael's
Yep.
team?
Yeah, that was right after Michael retired. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, they took him away from us. And but leading up to that, I remember we had a couple of those games that they moved them from the Night Center because that's where they used to play.
Yep.
Because they got so popular, they put them over in the Miami Arena, and we were all amazed that the University of Miami basketball team was packing it in at the Miami Arena. Man, I still remember that. That was pretty good, man. That was. I don't think the youngins may not know about that. Like, you
No.
really 12, 13,000 went to a UM game once? Yeah, man. They
Yeah.
actually did back in the day. They were pretty good. Yeah. Hey, man, our town is the best at getting on bandwagons. I
Oh
mean,
man, we are the bandwagon capital of America, really, right?
right? We still probably own World Series attendance records because we were in a football stadium
Yeah.
and we were packing it in for the boys in '97. So I'm sure we have attendance records. I don't know what they are for the World Series. Why don't you look that up there, Sean? Attendance records for the World Series. Where do the Marlins rank in single game attendance? I would have to think. Did the Rockies make it to the World Series at all with those teams when they were in the football stadium? You remember early on?
I
They
don't
won.
not
I don't
they
think
didn't
so,
make the
right?
World Series early on.
No,
No, I don't
right?
remember them getting it early on. No, their first World Series I remember was against the Red Sox, and I think that was like 2004, and they were already in Coors
Yeah,
Field. So
yeah. The Galarraga,
they made the
Dante,
playoffs. They made the
Dante, don't
playoffs, but
call
not the
me
World Series.
Suzanne Plachette teams.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I still remember that Galarraga home run he hit here
Oh yeah,
in the
oh yeah.
second deck.
Second
Oh,
deck. I was there that day.
me
Oh,
too.
I was there the day of the championship parade. My brother and I got there early as hell. We got in the stadium fast, and you talk about the stadium being packed for a championship celebration. I never would have imagined 80,000 people being in Miami for baseball, loving baseball that way.
And a lot of older men felt like pedophiles. She's only 16? Every time they played that video of everybody's doing the fish,
Yes,
and that
exactly.
and that young girl had the big jugs, and everybody was going crazy over that video. And then later on, everybody finds out she's only 16. You're like, oh man, all these men had terrible thoughts in their minds every time they were doing the fish. Hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Anyway, all right, let's get to it. Spring has sprung. What did you see in the game? Give me some positives.
Well, I mean, look, they just wrapped up their first week of practice. They're actually going on spring break because spring break is next week for the University of Miami students. For my house, my daughters, their spring break is until 2 weeks from now. So, but they're getting off next week and they'll be gone. No practices. They'll resume, I think, on the 21st. of margins when they'll get back to it. But the first 3 days are in the books. They finally got into pads yesterday a little bit. You know, the headline really was that the true freshman Francis Mauigoa got in with the first team at right tackle in the third practice. So everybody's all excited about that. I don't want to pee on anybody's parade, but I'm just going to say this. There's a lot of guys out this spring, and that's what I'm going to remind people with all of this stuff is don't worry about the depth chart so much. Worry more about when guys are back in the fall, what this is really going to look like. And I'm not saying Maui Goa couldn't crack the starting lineup. In fact, I think he will. I don't know that he'll be necessarily a day one starter at Miami, but he could be a day three, day four starter for them. So super talented lineman. I think him and Samson Okunlola, the two 5-stars, are going to make a huge impact here. They're both super athletic, unlike other offensive linemen on this team. And so, that's it, man. I mean, I know we get excited because football's back for the spring, but it's like there's no games to prepare for. It's just whoever's healthy's out there sweating, learning the new offense, going through stuff. So, for me, as a guy who's done this 25 plus years, it's like, all right, there's not a whole lot of sex appeal for me to go out there other than to speak to the new coordinators, speak to the new assistant coaches, speak to the new faces, right? Go and introduce myself to those guys. Outside of that, it's kind of meaningless.
No, I get it. It's true because really nothing that ever happens in the spring that even people get excited about really rolls over into the regular season anyway. And really it's hard to measure, and plus you're installing a new offense now
Right.
and all of this. So yeah, until we actually see them on the field competing, then we'll get a feel for how much this team has grown from last year. Because if there's one thing that Cristobal has to do, he has to develop him and his staff have to develop a much better team this year that's more effective, that is more mature, that is, more consistent out there. To me, that's the other thing that I'm going to measure is how well are these guys playing? How few mistakes are they making? That kind of stuff. I want to see how much have the coaches also prepared their players to succeed.
Yeah, and setting up a culture, right? An expectation internally for the way that they want to play. And I think, we got a chance to talk to the coordinators on Tuesday after I had come on your show. We kind of moved it up earlier in the day so that I could make sure I was there for their press conferences. But I really like the guys that he hired. I think, Shannon Dawson and Lance Guidry are both hungry coaches. They're both guys that are, I think, really still looking to make a name for themselves, even though they've been doing this for a long time. This is the opportunity, right? Come to a Power 5 program and get a group to overachieve versus, live up to whatever exterior expectations there are. I think they're used to coaching guys that aren't 5-stars and 4-stars, and coaching guys that also want to be, that are hungry and want to prove themselves. So I think that mentality is sort of setting in. I think last year when you had Josh Gaddis and you had Kevin Steele, you had guys that were just have been there, done that before, right? They've climbed to the mountaintop, they've been to the playoffs, they've played in important bowl games, coached on championship teams, etc. So I think it's a different mindset with both of those guys, and I think that permeates into the locker room and permeates into the mentality and practice.
I'm with you there. 20 players now transferred, so that's a nice turnover now for the Canes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the way college football is now. Oh, I mean, you're just going to see a lot of guys year to year to year. That's why this recruiting thing is so complicated to figure out. We for so many years we would sit there and say, let's just look at the recruiting standings, right? Miami's ranked 15th this year. They're ranked 12th this year. They should be good, right? They've got all this. Well, not anymore, man. Like it's really more about turnover year to year to year, free agency in college football. And can you pick up the kind of transfers that'll make up for your losses? Can you bring in guys that are upgrades over what you had the season before? And I think Mario has done that in a couple of spots. I think the offensive line is going to be much better with Javion Cohen and Matt Lee part of this offensive line. But I still think he could use a legitimate number one cornerback. I don't know that they have that on the roster. I still think they could use a guy at wide receiver who can take the top off
Oh,
the
yeah, number
defense.
one wide receiver, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Colby Young is super physically. He's super impressive. I mean, he's 6'4", 213 pounds. You go back and you put the tape on of the Virginia Tech and the Duke games where he scored touchdowns and made big catches, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, this guy could be a number one. But the reality is, you'd rather have a little bit more depth at that position than you do right now in terms of speed on the outside. You don't really have that. You have a lot of unproven guys who've gotten some opportunities and not come through and delivered. So I don't know that they'll find that in the transfer portal, but I guess my overall point with all of this is you're always looking, and the methodology of what we're used to of building a roster in college football nowadays is just different. You don't just recruit a bunch of freshmen year to year to year and hold on to them and develop them. It's a constant process, and I think fans who casually tune in and don't watch college football and see how the donuts are made year to year, this is the way the game is now. So I think Mario did a good job. I still think he can get more help in the portal.
All right, so talk to me about Mr. Gaddis in Maryland.
Yeah, ends up really back with Mike Loxley, who he's with at Alabama. Maryland's one of those interesting programs. Obviously, they've got Tua's younger brother there playing quarterback for him. They're in a
They also have a really ugly ass helmet. All right, but
yes,
go ahead. I'm sorry as I digress. I'm sorry.
they've got one of the ugliest sets of uniforms I've ever seen. In all honesty, I completely agree with you. Oh, it's pretty bad.
They got so much shit going on that helmet. It's like, what
It
the
is.
hell is that, dude? What is wrong with you people?
It really is embarrassing. But look, it's a fresh start for him. He wasn't a fit at Miami from a culture, from a just getting the players in the wide receiver room to play for him. I think the moment he got that job and he got down here and he realized, hey, this isn't. I don't have the same type of players I had at Michigan. I don't have the same type of linemen. I don't have a Blake Corum in the backfield. I don't have a standout receiver. I think he sort of started whimpering to himself, like, "Oh, I got to get out of here quickly." And I think he coached that way. I think he coaches a guy who wasn't necessarily happy, and I think it rubbed off in the room. And so now he gets a fresh start at Maryland. He'll get a chance to find his footing in the Big Ten, where I think he did have some success. Obviously, with Michigan, he might be better suited for that kind of football anyway. And so hopefully for him, it works out. I don't think Josh Gaddis is a bad guy. I just think he was a bad fit for Miami.
Oh yeah, I don't know what kind of guy he is. He might be a fantastic dude. I thought he did a piss poor job of adjusting to the talent that he had and kind of forced a square peg in a round hole. I didn't see creativity from a coach, and that's what you're gonna have. You're gonna go through seasons where you don't have this. Look at Eric Spoelstra. Okay, so you're giving me Whiteside and Deion Waiters and Tyler John. Okay, well, I'll try to make the best out of whatever and he does. Mm-hmm. And then Chris Bosch is in and out of the lineup with a blood clot, and then he's got to change the offense, and he adjusts. And if he has the big three, or if he has, Jimmy Butler and company, the guy adjusts to whatever roster he has, and then he plays accordingly. And that was my problem with Josh Gaddis, that I get it, dude. You want to run your power offense. It reminded me a lot of Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
He comes to the Dolphins, and then he tries to run the Dallas offense, but he doesn't have the Dallas line or the Dallas running back. Right. And it's like, yo, dude, you got to go back and give Marino all the audibles. You can't give Marino a check with me system. What the hell is wrong with you, dude? Yeah. It can't be just either a run or a pass, and that's it, and that's all you're going to give Marino options. The run part of it is weak in your end because you don't have, Nate Newton and company at the line, and you don't have Emmitt Smith, back there. And it was a terrible job of a head coach adjusting to the offense that he inherited. And to me, Gaddis and Jimmy taking over for the Dolphins, there were a lot of similarities in the, terrible coaching side of it.
Well, I mean, look, sometimes guys are just not a good fit, and that's why sometimes when we see these postseason awards, right, for assistant coaches, like the Broyles Award winner, sometimes it's more of a product of their system and their overall team success, not so much that they're excellent play callers or adjusters. The Eric Spoelstras of the world, I think, are few and far between. I think that should only make Miami fans appreciate a guy like Spoelstra more, that he could adapt his teams to whatever personnel he has, and ultimately the best coaches do that. But I think in this case, I'm not letting Mario Cristobal off the hook. You know, he came in here with his own vision.
You're
He
right.
hired Gaddis for a reason,
You're right.
and he thought he could run the offense. Now, I will give Mario credit for this. He pulled the plug as soon as it was over.
Right.
We've seen a
Right.
lot of other guys come in here as head coaches and be idiots about things and just say, "Oh, I'm sticking with this guy," and that's it. And so, look, it was year one. They weren't going to win more than 7 games or 8 games with that roster last year, even when they were fully healthy. There's still too many talent holes. There's still too many culture issues on this roster to win big. So it was a rough year. You kind of have to leave it where it is. And now a guy like Josh Gaddis and a guy like Mario Cristobal can move on, hopefully, with better systems and better people around them to help them have success.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just needed to see more. Look, I see it from Larinaga. He adjusts to all his teams,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what he has. Obviously, I saw Shula do it for a long time. You know, the good coaches. Hey, Phil Neville. You know, I follow all sports.
Yeah.
He adjusted with the whole Higuain thing. He benched his ass and got his attention, and then got him to play the way he needed him to play, and lost a little weight and had a hell of a season, you know, last year. And now he's got a new team and a different team, and the guy continues to adjust. To me, that's how a coach shows me that they know what the hell they're doing, because you're not going to have the same talent even though you might be building this kind of an offense, this kind of a defense. Somehow or another, 1 year, injuries, this, that, changes you know what you are, and then you have to adjust to what you are, and that's going to happen to coaches. And for Gaddis, it was just, you know, one of those things that I didn't like. Now, one thing I do like that I saw, Jarrett Payton just tweeted out that Alonzo Highsmith reached out to him, and apparently he's reaching out to all the former Canes to kind of roll into former Canes to tell them that the University of Miami is here with open arms and ready to go. And there's Jarrett Payton. He says, just got a wonderful morning call from the great Alonzo Highsmith. He's calling all former Canes football players, said the door at the U is always open for us. Love it and thank you, Coach Cristobal. We're getting things back on track. So your thoughts on that reaction from Jarrett and maybe the rest of the Canes world? How are they going to be reacting to something like this now?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly all the former players want to see Mario get this right. I think you speak to a lot of these guys off the record and individually, and they're all super disappointed with the way things have sort of transpired. But they're also excited by the fact that the university is pumping money back into this thing in ways it never had before. The fact that they're allowing Mario to pay guys to go away and to bring new guys in. So there's a lot more excitement, I think, around the program. Look, the alumni is always going to be supportive, and stop by practices and come by and visit and talk to kids when they're asked to talk to kids. They do that. I think, the one thing Miami has always had is a strong alumni support system. Uh, the issue here is getting these guys to do it consistently and show up all the time. There's a few of them that do. You see the John Beesons of the world. You see the Jonathan Vilmas, the guys that are by the building quite frequently and around the kids and talking to the kids. A lot of them come back for the Paradise Camp, or what used to be known as the Paradise Camp, in the summertime and in the spring football time. So you'll see. You'll see guys pop by, but in the long run, man, they want to see this thing turn around quickly, and they're tired of the losing. They're tired of the mediocrity, and hopefully, Mario gives them something to grab onto this year. I think 8-4, man, that's the number. I think that's the magic number. If you can get to 8 wins this year with this group, I think a lot of positive things come out of that. I think anything less than that, people are still going to be saying, "Man, this is the same deal." So, but I think the former players will be there, and it's good that Alonzo Highsmith and others are trying to make this a public thing where, they're speaking it into existence.
Walt Dog obviously doesn't pay attention. Walt Dog, you'll be close to getting blocked here. I'm going to ask your fucking question. Don't be spamming on the chat board. Ask once and leave it there. If I want to ask, I'll ask. If I don't want to ask, I don't ask. But if you keep spamming, I'm going to block your ass and you won't have a shot at getting in on the show anymore. Big O, please ask Walden Charles, wide receiver for 2025. Why? 2023, 2030 wasn't close enough for you? Anyway, he was at Miami yesterday. What does Manny know about him? FSU offered him a scholarship this week. He's on the way to LSU. Deion Sanders wants him to come to Colorado next month. Okay, Manny, please help Walt Dog. He's having a heart attack, a grown man, about some kid in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I just came from two combine/camps that Under Armour put on last week over at Bradenton IMG Academy and then over in Orlando on Sunday. So I've been around a lot of 2024, 2025, and 2026 guys. I also have communication with people at Miami about who they're looking at. Look, the concentration right now, we are 10 months away from signing day for the 2024 class. The 2025s, I'm not trying to dismiss them and say it doesn't matter, but there's so much time, man. There's so much time for these guys to go on unofficial visits all over the country. It's what they do. Is this a kid that they're interested in? Absolutely. I think, size wise, he fits what Mario wants. I think he's the kind of player that the kind of prospect that you want to watch develop here over the next year. Obviously, they're not the only program interested in him, but um, right now, I think the priority again are the 2024 guys getting some important commitments here in the months ahead. The 2025 guys, you just want to develop a good relationship with, and I think the one thing I will say, and I know Miami fans aren't going to like this, but I think Florida State has done a really good job in the last year with Alex Atkins, their offensive coordinator, who I think will be a head coach down the road. I think Florida State has done a really, really good job setting themselves up for the recruiting trail. Obviously, winning 10 games helps, but I think those coaches have done a really good job in-state with in-state prospects. I think Miami is always looking more nationwide now for players under Mario because of his connections all over the place. So I think, I'm sure this kid is a player we'll get to watch. We got a long time from now until December 2024 to find out where he's going to school.
Okay. All right. There you go. You got your answer. Okay. It's like, by the way, just because you and I talk about this all the time, Manny, those of you out there that worry about recruits don't mean shit, dude, because the kid might be unhappy 6 months later and then he transfers out. This happens all the time. Recruits don't mean anything. It means a year after you sign them. Are they still there on your program? Then you have scored. Even getting somebody to commit to you doesn't mean anything whatsoever. Getting them to come to your building and start their freshman year means nothing. It's a year later when you find out, are they still on the damn roster and do they actually have a role? Because if these kids don't have a role, they're going to leave right away.
Not to defend Walt here, but I'm sure there's a reason why he's interested. He probably knows this kid could be a family member, and he's just excited. He wants the kid to be at Miami, and he wants to make sure the coaching staff is on top of him. And I'll say this,
Mario doesn't even sleep.
Mario's always on it, and if they really want the kid to be here, they're on it. I don't get the sense that this is the kind of coaching staff where they were late to the party on getting kids on campus. I was there.
We have a psycho recruiter running this program. We have a psycho recruiter.
Yes.
Walt, relax, bro. We have a guy that if he doesn't want to come here, it's not because Mario Cristobal wasn't trying, dude.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I was there for junior day. I saw a lot of kids come through there. All of them, the moment they're greeted by an entire recruiting staff the moment they get there and they get their little name tag and they walk in the building. I mean, I was there for 2 hours watching it happen on Saturday. There's so many people in Miami's recruiting department that have an influence. I don't think people get ignored by Miami. That doesn't happen anymore.
He says he is a family member.
There you go. So he's just excited.
Well, you should give us freaking insight, not us give you insight. What the hell, dude? If you're a family member, come on, spill the beans, bro.
Listen, I will say this. I looked at the text now. He mentioned Colorado, and you mentioned Colorado.
No, I just read what he said. I have no idea.
Yeah. Deion, man, there's so many kids like you don't understand. Oh, there's so many kids that just love Dion.
Of course.
We had our athletic. We ranked the top 69 or all 69 Power Five teams based on recruiting potential. And I know people think I'm batshit crazy for saying this, but I actually put Colorado fourth behind Ohio State,
I get it.
Georgia, and Alabama because he's the kind of guy who could steal 5-star players from just about anybody in the country. I think those are the only 3 brands that are stronger than Dion right now.
And by the way, I'll say the kind of shit that people won't be willing to say.
Yeah.
What he did at Jackson State, that makes you even bigger in the black community all over this country. Because you went somewhere selflessly, yeah, of course, to establish your name, but you lifted a black college in the process.
Right.
You gave them a bigger stage for a short amount of time. You made their lives better, and you gave that program a little bit of a springboard that whoever takes over now, it's a slightly easier job than it was before Deion Sanders got there. So that wins a lot of brownie points out there for a lot of parents. And a lot of kids see that he is fighting for their community. And that's really, really important. And so I think Deion wins over a lot of people and a lot of young people in today's world. You know what I mean? Because of what he did at Jackson State. I think that he gets a lot of goodwill with all of that, I believe, personally.
No, I agree 100%. And I think, the other aspect is a lot of these kids like a Cormani McLean, who we talked about ad nauseum for months, right? You
Right.
and I on this show. He's a guy who loves being on TV, right? He's got a mother who wants him on TV. So there's not a lot of coaches nowadays sort of trying to set up TV deals, right? To have Amazon Prime do a behind the scenes documentary. They don't want anybody around their players. They're trying to keep the media and everybody else away from them. Whereas Deion is in this NIL world, pushing every button he's got to push to get players to come play for him. And I think that's what makes him attractive. That's what makes him a dangerous threat. If he has any level of success at Colorado where they win 6, 7, 8, 9 games
Oh, wow, yeah.
in the next couple years, I mean, can you imagine Deion at a Texas A&M, for instance, what he would do there replacing a Jimbo Fisher? Could you imagine him if Mike Norvell moves on or Florida State decides, hey, it's time to bring this guy home and make him our coach? What he would do at a university where they're geographically located, where there's an abundance of talent. Put him in Texas or Florida or Georgia. And Deion Sanders would absolutely explode. And even saying that,
by the way, California. I mean, he is hot.
Yeah.
He is prime time.
Yeah.
So put him in UCLA or USC or something like that. Yeah.
Put him in a place like that, and I think he would really explode. And really, I think that's the next step for him. And look, Colorado, the Pac-12, they're losing USC and UCLA. If the Pac-12 stays together as is, there's no problem why the Buffaloes couldn't all of a sudden climb to the top of that conference with just Oregon and Utah there. I think they're in a very good position in the West Coast to thrive.
What are you working on in the athletics so folks can check you out, Manny?
Well, look, there's a ton of content coming. I've got a feature story on Julian Sayin, who's the Alabama quarterback commitment for the 2024 class. I'm gonna have something on Francis Mauigoa, who we talked about earlier with the Hurricanes. I've got a bunch of recruiting geography stuff. That's gonna be coming out the week I'm on vacation. I'll be working next week, but then the week that Miami comes back, that's my children's spring break, and I'm taking them on vacation. So
St. Augustine again?
No. Okay. All
right.
My oldest is turning 12, and she's been wanting to go to Universal Studios.
They personally told me they're tired of St. Augustine, so I'm just
they are.
No,
That's where the grandparents are.
Found of youth because they're already youths. They don't need any more youths water. Okay, so you got to take them somewhere else. They told me. All right, come on.
Universal Studios.
There we go.
That 4-day pass that they got going now. That's what we're doing. So we'll be there riding a bunch of rides and sweating our asses off in the heat. But it'll be fun.
It's all right. You'll be all liquored up. Nobody will notice. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro and catch his exceptional work there at The Athletic. Better yet, subscribe like I do. Manny, have a great weekend, my friend. I appreciate you.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Manny Navarro. We are here at Caneswear. This is the Caneswear Miami Hurricanes Report. We are at Caneswear. You know, they've got anything and everything with the Canes logo on it. Inter Miami gear. We got a big Inter Miami game tomorrow. You want to cheer on your Canes, man? You want to buy a shirt or something like that, a jersey, hat, something out here. They've got them for you. Dolphins gear, Marlins gear, Panthers gear, Miami Heat gear, all kinds of stuff here at 2511 South University Drive in Davie. Come see Brett. Come see Jeff, all the amazing people out here at Caneswear, and tell them that Big O sent you. They will take care of you at Caneswear, baby.
If you're
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.